Exercise has clearly become a daily routine for everyone. Wherever we go, the gym, online personal training service, welfare center, and other various sports facilities, we see many people exercising in many places. But even today, there are still people who cannot exercise freely. Can you guess what this number for?
Is the blind. They are physically limited, causing restricted life boundaries, and are more likely to have secondary disabilities and complications. For blind people, exercise is a must, not an option. It has been brought to our attention that for blind people, exercise has been overlooked as an everyday life necessary. But we Young Challenge focus on providing better exercise opportunities for the blind community.
So where can blind people exercise now? Their only real option for exercising is in the welfare center, one of the many options available for the non-disabled. Due to the high psychological barrier, blind people could not enjoy exercise at private facilities.
평소에 아무래도 활동량도 많이 적고 비장애인들만큼 자유롭게 외출이 어렵다 보니까 운동을 하고 싶어도 잘 못하는 경우가 많이 있는데 그래서 복지관에 신청을 하더라도 경쟁률이 너무 높고 저희가 원하는 시간대에 마음대로 참여하기가 어렵고 그리고 사설단체에서는 시각장애에 대한 이해가 좀 많이 부족하셔서 저희한테 맞는 프로그램이 많이 없는 실정이에요.
The welfare center program has many limitations. First, limited time span and place. They can participate in the program only before 6 p.m. on weekdays. Also, sometimes they must travel long distance as there are only 5 welfare centers in Seoul. Second, poor facilities and limited exercise options. Only mat-based exercise is possible. Lastly, imbalance between supply and demand. The maximum competition rate for welfare programs is 10 to 1, with fewer programs for the blind winning them. Young Challenge offer a variety of exercising programs catered towards the blind Youngcha project with trained professional instructors.
To do that, first, we wanted to verify market ability. Last year, we opened a one-day reformer Pilates class, which is not offered at the welfare centers. The class was promoted through the 노원시각장애인 복지관. The average competition rate for applications was 2 to 1, and we conducted 3 one-day classes. The re-participation rate was 100%, and we were able to verify the blind people's willingness to pay and the hypothesis of marketability. We needed to find a customer. We conducted a widespread search for freelance instructors. They wanted to use their idle time and make extra income. After interviewing them, surprisingly, they were willing to teach blind people, but with unfamiliarity and vague concerns about blindness. They had psychological barriers.
Understanding these difficulties and the status quo, we had to address the psychological barriers that had been blocking blind and private exercise instructors. In January 2020, Young Challenge became exercise instructors at the 노원시각장애인 복지관 for months and produced visual disability teaching guidelines. The visual disability teaching guidelines guided instructors to understand the visually challenged and to teach them how to exercise. Youngcha Project is a practical exercise program for the blind that eliminates psychological barriers to existing private exercise facilities. It can also be an alternative to the limitations of existing welfare centers. The time span, which was limited to weekday afternoon hours, was expanded to weekday evenings and weekends. We also expanded to include areas where blind people live rather than welfare centers scattered around Seoul to enhance accessibility. A variety of instructors and high-quality programs can be provided at many facilities. It also provides programs depending on the number of applying people, so we can balance supply and demand.
Young Challenge has trained a total of 10 instructors and expanded the program to 4 categories. We also expanded the number of facilities with the help of 2 sports facilities in Seoul.
Through this human physical infrastructure of Young Challenge, we conducted 20 exercise programs in 6 months. A total of 30 blind people, ranging from infants to those in their 50s, were able to exercise freely in the sports times and places they wanted.
Instructors were able to take 1 or 2 additional classes through the Youngcha project and earned an average of 200,000 won per month. 100% of the instructors are willing to participate again. In addition, through partnerships with 서울효정학교, 한국시각장애대학생회, and 노원시각장애인복지관, we have been able to continue to provide Young Challenge programs.
Young Challenge acts as the only exercise program community for the blind. So far, we have worked to expand the exercise market for the blind and have created meaningful connections between the blind and freelance instructors.
Last year in Enactus, we ran a job matching service to solve the employment problem for people with developmental disabilities. But the issue was much more complex. As the minimum wage spiked up, employment of a simple labor fell more than 30%. Particularly, this was found to be a critical issue for people with developmental disabilities. As the majority of them work for simple labor jobs, they were at risk.
From this case, we got to know that it is need to be viewed in more fundamental and long-term perspective. Hence, we turn our attention to education as the first step to address the employment issue. Initially, we analyzed the current trend on how special education was being done in industries. As a result, we found that special education was mostly limited.
It is obvious that jobs in the IT sector will increase in the future of Korea, but there has been a lack of opportunities in special education. We need to address the limitation in special education as Korea faces future IT jobs. Hence, we devised an IT education program for the developmentally disabled as an initial step towards preparing for future society.
We explored how to provide essential IT education services for people with developmental disabilities. As coding education became mandatory in the existing regular curriculum, the market was gradually formed and overheated. As competition intensified, professional instructors and high-level education were provided, and the price was also expensive.
So we thought that if we could create a coding education curriculum at the base level, but enough to apply in daily lives, not at the professional level, we could proceed with the class even we are not the master of coding education. Through this, we could significantly lower the price and the class could spread to more people.
First of all, we had to verify how the coding education is effective. So we decided to open a short-term program. We developed a curriculum based on education models of other countries and educational materials from the National Institute of Special Education in Korea. As a result, we created a 5-week curriculum for people with developmental disabilities to complete. After that, we wanted to verify that there would be a demand for this education as participants paid. We promoted our programs to various related networks and achieved the recruitment quota for our first program. As a result, all students completed the program and we generated sales of about 500,000 won. Through this, we verified the education was effective and willingness to pay for it.
However, we immediately faced a challenge. There were some financial difficulties in terms of instructor and student management, location arrangements, and promotion. Hence, we devised a new education program while scaling up and to spreading more deeply into our society. That is the institutional B2B program.
Our challenge was to find a new customer base. Among the various potential customers, we judged that the vocational and after-school education budget for high school special classes is sufficient. To overcome the barrier of unfamiliarity of teachers on the coding education, we executed free one-day coding classes to promote our program, and it worked.
After that, we set up an after-school promotion plan with the aim of signing contract with the 5 schools in the first half of the year. We are currently conducting classes at 2 schools. Understanding the difficulties due to COVID-19, we have developed a curriculum fit for online and successfully signed contract with 3 schools.
In Paran Academy programs, students learn that coding can solve actual problems surrounding them, not of others. Moreover, some students, like we do, discover their talents in this field.
아이들이 되게 적극적으로 바뀌었다. 이게 정말 전 좋은 것 같아요. 아이들이 설계를 해서 준비하고 그것을 실현하고 하니까 아이가 너무 뿌듯한 거예요, 스스로. 특히 한 친구, 그 이즈버그로 한다는 친구는 원래는 과학자가 꿈이었거든요. 그래서 IT 쪽에도 관심이 있었지만 그 코딩의 세계에 너무 즐거워한 거예요. 그래서 코딩을 응용할 수 있는 게 어느 선인가 막 이런 걸 스스로 공부하더라고요. 되게 만족스러운 한 학기이지 않았나.
Paramakers is going to spread the Paran Academy to special classes nationwide. Furthermore, Paramakers is planning to train women as Paramakers teachers. During working as a teacher in Paramakers for several months, we have learned that this program could give decent job opportunities to women who are experienced but unable to work full-time due to childcare. So, from the second half of the year, we will train and make them work as Paramakers teachers.
Paran makers are taking advantage of people with developmental disabilities, which were not considered customers in the existing market, to create new educational business models and possibilities. The Paran Academy has given over 100 students the experience of facing a new world for the first time.
Also, we will be able to create affordable jobs for women who are limited in their economic activities due to childcare. We will do our best to create a new way for Paramakers. That is the way where every member of society can live in harmony without discrimination.